All right, so my lesson tonight, Kenny and I came up with the name called "People Do It Too," and so I know now y'all are thinking like, what am I going to talk about? But I'm going to talk about not giving up. And so a little backstory before I get into it. Me and my two little siblings, Timmy and Bella, we weren't the perfect ones that you see us as, actually, and so there was problems in our like younger lives, but we've never given up on each other. So that's how we've made it out. And I'm glad that I have Miss Kim as my mom and Tim as my dad. They never gave up on us, even when we were at our roughest. They still loved us and kept going. And then I'm glad to see my actual mom here and her mom. They didn't give up on us. They're still here fighting, and they're fighting for their love to keep the little two ones that they have now. But I want to start out by setting the mindset of a Christian. So, the mindset of a Christian, as we know it, should be that we should never give up and push forward, knowing that God will always help us out. And so, there's three stories I want to look over again with everyone. So, the first story I want to share is the story of Caleb and Joshua. That story was mentioned by a friend of mine in Panama when he gave a Devo. And it was a good example of not giving up because when God asked them to go send out 10 spies, they were the only ones that were not afraid to do it. And all the other ones were like, oh, let's just not do it. They wanted to give up on God, but those two did not. And uh, they didn't give up because they knew God had a better plan for them. And the second story I want to show is the story of Paul and Silas when they were in the Philippian jailer all together. Paul and Silas had every right to give up in life when they got thrown in prison for preaching God's word, but they didn't. They kept pushing and they gave it their all. The Philippian jailer almost took his life because he gave up since when the prison came down, but Paul and Silas were there and helped him through it. And so him and his whole family were baptized, and I'm sure they lived a faithful life afterwards. Another one is, well, Paul is a great example of someone that I look forward to for not giving up. So if I'm ever down or anything, I look at Paul because Paul has suffered so much in his life, but never gave up on God. He went through so many trials and tribulations that he could have just ended up going. He didn't give up, but he kept pushing because he knew God had a better path for him. So in 2 Timothy 4:7, when it said, "I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith," that's just showing that Paul kept pushing through every trouble that was ever thrown at him. And then also I want to read 2 Timothy 1:12 when it says, "For this reason I also suffer these things. Nevertheless I am not ashamed, for I know whom I have believed, and I am persuaded that he is able to keep what I have committed to him until that day." And I actually look at this verse daily and keep it in my head because no matter what I go through, I know that God has a better plan for me in the end. And I just want to make sure that we all know that giving up is not a good plan for anybody. Giving up just shows that you just you don't see a better part in life. But we all know that God gives us a better chance. And I know we offer the choice of an invitation, and we will willingly do so as we stand and sing.